Thanks so much for tuning into this earnings conversation with Pidilite. If you heard the quarter one conversation with me or the con call, quarter two will not come as a surprise at all to you. But for the fact that on a couple of things, the performance relative to what was anticipated has turned out to be better. On the operational front, underlying volume growth, both have looked okay. Mr. Bharat Puri Johnson to talk about that. Mr. Puri, great having you. Thanks so much for joining us. Tell us if anything in the quarter surprised you.
Firstly, always a pleasure to be with you, Niraj. Always a pleasure to be on BQ Prime. As far as the quarter is concerned, really largely on expectations, the environment was a little more difficult than we thought because this monsoon, while at an overall level, you may say it is at 96% of average or whatever the percentage is, it's been fairly erratic. You had a very wet July with a lot of disruption, lots of places, disruption for 8-10 days, so on and so forth, etc. August again, in and out, so on and so forth. September getting stable. But overall, if I look at the quarter, fairly satisfied. As you know, we always say we could always do a little more, but at an overall level, fairly satisfied.
So the revenue growth doesn't show that, but the underlying volume growth, if I'm not wrong, was about over 8% odd. Is that in line, part one? And part two, does this continue into the festive season? I mean, it may not have as much relevance, but still trying to understand.
See, absolutely, we've always said that our growth focus is underlying volume growth. That's what remains with the consumer. If you look at this quarter and therefore actually the half, we're growing volumes, underlying volumes at about 8%. Where the good thing is the B2B business is coming back strongly. In the second quarter, our B2B business has grown volumes by about 20%. And, given the rise in input prices over the last 2 years, it's only fair that when input prices become stable, we start giving back to the consumer. And that's why you're seeing the difference between value and volume. But we actually believe this is more beneficial to us in the longer term because an affordable product where the value equation is better is actually good. We shouldn't worry about one quarter where value and volumes are separate.
Okay. You reckon such volume growth numbers can last? Because there's a lot of dichotomy in commentary around what could be happening, especially at the rural end of the spectrum.
See, in our belief, we have a fair amount of tailwinds coming from a lot of activity in the construction and real estate sector. We're seeing that very clearly add to growth. We're also seeing government infrastructure spending, capex spending have a trickle-down effect. This extended festive season, we're not very seasonal as a company, but quarter three does remain big for us. So we frankly, barring the current geopolitical situation where neither you and me both know that there's no use trying to predict what's going to happen in the Middle East and where oil prices are going to go, we will study it and obviously keep a close watch on it week by week. But I would say we're increasingly optimistic that the second half will mirror the first, if not be a little better.
Okay. Does the festive season play as big a part for you? And if so, would this bunched up festive season in quarter three therefore have the advantage of the base effect of the last year, wherein it was split between Q2 and Q3?
We don't have, unlike a lot of the other home improvement companies, we don't have the high level of seasonality.
Yeah.
Having said that, quarter three and quarter one tend to be our two biggest quarters in the year. Yeah. So more for historical reasons and the fact that construction, home improvement in winter months is much easier to do than it is in summer months. So that's built in. But yes, I would look at the festive season and its success based on October plus November growth. Everybody will see good growths in October very simply because you're comparing 3 weeks of last year with 4 weeks of this year.
Okay, but no specific large linkage or correlation to the festive demand per se. October is seasonally or O&D is anyway seasonally a strong quarter for you.
That's true. Absolutely.
Got it. Thanks so much. Now, you had also mentioned about VAM and about the fact that you were starting to see those tailwinds on margins. You've delivered very strong, I think relatively stronger than what at least our polls were suggesting. What is the scene on input costs? Because your commentary does say that you're watching the input cost movements very, very carefully.
See, on input costs, frankly, they're largely stable. VAM is stable. It started showing some amount of increase, but, plus minus $100 of $900 a ton, we are prepared for, and given that it was at one stage, $2,500 a ton, we can hardly complain. So at an overall level, we believe input prices will remain stable unless something dramatic happens from the geopolitical point of view. And then we will obviously take appropriate action. But you will see that in the meantime, what we're doing is substantially investing behind growth. So, if you look at our numbers, in the first half, not just the second quarter, but the first half, we've not taken up advertising and by, our investment in brands by 10-20%. We virtually doubled that. If you see our investment in route to market, a lot of people are asking us, how are you one of the few companies where rural growth is higher than urban growth? For us, rural is growing 1.5 times urban because we are substantially investing behind rural. Our initiative, which is Pidilite Ki Duniya, which is small rural stores in villages with a population of below 10,000. We now have 12,000 Pidilite Ki Duniyas. We're adding between 500 and 700 every month. So, we've added just in this quarter close to about 1,700 villages to direct distribution with a population again below 10,000. Our number of distribution points, the number of outlets built, the number of therefore demand generation activities, innovation for rural areas specifically is all contributing behind. And at an overall level, Pidilite is an organization known for innovation. We've stepped up our rate of innovation substantially, and across each of our divisions, you will see two major, two minor products come from each. So, Fevicol has a new Fevicol Hyperstar. We have a new range of sealants. We have a new product called Relam, which is, you can now just on your existing laminate, you can make your furniture new by doing a new laminate. Earlier, you had to, take it off virtually using fire. We now have a product which just enables you to put one on top of the other and redo your furniture. We've got new products coming from the Dr. Fix-It range. We've got new products in the type. So, at Pidilite, we're clear innovation, investment behind brands, supply chain. 4 new factories commissioned this year, a massive regional warehouse in Hyderabad commissioned. You would see another 3 of our factories coming up in the next 6 months. We now have over 70 manufacturing facilities just in India. So we're on the investment phase. And finally, of course, digitization, something of, again, pleasure to us. Our basic investment behind, this app called the Pidilite Genie, where a dealer can, anywhere in India, can order our product on the app and it will be delivered to him in 24 hours. We're now getting close to 1/3 of our sales via the Pidilite Genie app. Niraj, there is no other company anywhere close to those numbers. You can be sitting in Bhagalpur in Bihar and you order in 24 hours via your distributor, you will get the material. And this is again, in a sense, building competitive advantage via digitization. So we're continuing behind our growth initiatives because we're clear. My goal with my team always is, listen, we will smile a little more when we reach double-digit volume growth.
I have a question though, and then I'll come to the final question, which is on the NBFC investment. But a question here, with the distribution might, physical distribution might that you already had, you added a layer of these Pidilite Ki Duniyas, then you added this layer of this digital ordering as well. Is this a network or a base that you now built, which will enable you to load a bunch of newer products and categories and see the results 2 years out, which people are not thinking of right now?
Very well put. Absolutely, yes. In fact, see, the advantage of having this network is we're not an item of mass consumption. Most of our products, you need to educate first the user and then the end consumer and how to use and why to use the product. The moment we have this direct contact, we are able to do that. And therefore, for example, take a product like Araldite, which we bought close to 3 years ago. Araldite is now going deep rural. Okay, now it was not available in any of these places earlier, so on and so forth, etc. Now, as far as rural India is concerned, it's a new product. I mean, urban India has seen it for a large period of time, but we're educating people in the benefits, therefore, of an epoxy, how it gives you an unbreakable bond. Tile adhesives, while tiles were there, people just use simple cement for tiles. Now we're taking it to rural areas. So absolutely, yes. I mean, one of the basic objectives we have is that, listen, we will keep educating users, and hopefully the first product they will use for home improvement will be a set of Pidilite products, and that's what they will grow up with.
Okay. Final thing, this NBFC, yes, you could argue, some people would argue unrelated diversification. I say not so, because I come from a lens of how it probably helps you on the working capital cycle, maybe, and correct me if I'm wrong here. But why this decision at this particular point of time? Will it happen under Pidilite's balance sheet? What's the maximum exposure that you would take there under any given point of time? And what's the outlook of this, let's say, over 3 to 5 years? Because you're not incubating this business for 1-2 years any which ways.
Great question. See, if you just take a step back, Niraj, we are an organization which is known for its deep connect with its ecosystem. So be it the furniture contractor, be it the mason, be it the plumbing contractor, be it the tile layer, we're the only organization that has information on his creditworthiness, on his buying patterns, on his how much credit he needs, what's his size. Similar for the whole dealer universe. Now, just if I look at this whole domain, that's where we are restricted to. We have a competitive advantage for time. For a lot of time, a lot of this ecosystem has been pushing back at us, saying that, listen, the nature of our work is such that at times we have a short-term need for capital. And, we know you best, you know us best. Why don't, you give us this capital? And this is something, therefore, we thought is a good idea. We're starting by incubating and doing this in one geography. We will learn, test our assumptions. We've clearly said that our maximum exposure over a 2-year period will be 100 crores. So this is not one of these big bang ventures where we want to be this big all India scale NBFC. No, we want to be restricted to the Pidilite domain. We believe that's large enough and profitable enough for us. It's an area where we have substantial competitive advantage because we already know, in a sense, the KYCs are done for each of these people a number of times already. And we will learn and come back in a year's time and come back and tell you, Niraj, this is how it's working and this is where we want to take it.
Okay.
And again, something that will be done at an arm's length from Pidilite while using the Pidilite ecosystem, while using the Pidilite resources.
We'll talk more about this the next time. Understand you have a meeting to go. So we'll leave it at that, Mr. Puri. Thanks so much for taking the time out and talking to us. And all the best and a happy festive season to you, your family and the Pidilite family.
Thank you. Thank you, Niraj. Always a pleasure. And again, wishing you, your families and everybody at BQ Prime and all your viewers a very, very happy Diwali.
Really appreciate. Thanks for talking to us today.
Thank you.
Viewers, thanks for tuning in.
Wishing everyone a very happy Diwali. This is a year when India has done very well and is poised to do well for a long period of time. So hopefully this will be a truly prosperous Diwali for everyone.